Okay, so today's session is on Microsoft OneDrive, and we'll be going through the information that's also in this KB article. So if you want this for future reference, put that in there. Great to see some other people from Ghanaland and Ash from Clare. I'm not sure what Aboriginal language group is in Clare, but if you know, perhaps you can pop that in the chat. So we'll be going through this today. As I said, it's going to be quite hands-on. So OneDrive is an application that is mostly web-based. So to start off with, if you haven't already, can you open up a browser? And then I always like people to start with the EdPass portal so that they make sure that they log in with their correct email, so their @school's email address. Now, I think we do have quite a few people from corporate in here. Thanks, Tasha. Quite a few people who work in corporate from here. If you use your EdPass portal as well, that makes sure that you log in with your @school's email address. If you haven't worked with corporate and you're school-based, you won't probably know, but corporate people have an @school's email and a gov email, and this can cause some confusion. So if you use EdPass, then you're sure to be logged in with the right email address and your @schools. When you log in, you see the EdPass portal, and when you scroll down, under the productivity and collaboration space, there's a whole lot of links to Microsoft apps. And today we're going to go into OneDrive. So if you can, make sure you're there, make sure you're logged in, and then click on OneDrive. We can get started. And once you've done that, if you can give me a virtual thumbs up or a thumbs up in the chat, I know that we're okay to keep on moving. Okay, I'll just give people one more moment and then we keep going. Okay, so this is OneDrive. It is your cloud-based storage that is available for department employees and students as well. You've got up to 1 terabyte of space that you can use on here. And just for context, I'll just open up a quick poll, because one of the reasons why I love OneDrive is that some of these scenarios that I'm just putting in Teams have happened to me. So if you've ever corrupted a hard drive or put your USB through the washing machine, lost a USB, especially if it's had your reports on it, or spent 10 minutes trying to locate the right USB while you've got a busy class, or forgotten to save your file somewhere that you could take home with you, for example, then OneDrive is what you need to be starting to use, and this is perfect for you. So I think I'm going to tick all of those and submit, and hopefully I'm not the only one that's done those things. Okay, yep, there's a few people that have done what I've done in the past. Okay, so we've got 1 terabyte of space, and you can access anything that you save on OneDrive from any device, anywhere. It doesn't matter if it's a Windows device, it could be a Mac, it could be an iPad, it could be an Android phone as well, or an Android tablet. You can share files. You can share files with people within the department, so that's staff and student. You can't share files externally unless you putting a ticket to the service desk. So I will put in the sorry about this. Let's put in the right. I'll put in a link to a KB article on Edit that details how to do that. So you can make it available externally if you have a very good business reason to do so. So maybe you need to share files with parents or something like that. So that's some information if that applies to you. So I can share with anyone in the department, students or my colleagues. And what we'd like to say OneDrive is for is it's really for my me files. So it's for files that I'm working on. Maybe I want to share for some feedback, but not so much files that I'm collaborating on. That's where Teams comes in. OneDrive is really the space for me to be working on my files. I can sync this, and towards the end of today's session, I'll show you how to sync your files so that you can access them from your File Explorer on your desktop as well. But that's basically what OneDrive is. Now, let's have a look at some of the things we need for navigation. So in the left side pane, we've got all these different sections. The home page where you land, and hopefully everyone can see the home page, kind of gives you a summary of what Microsoft thinks that you might need to access. So it's got some files up the top. Now these might be files you own, but they also might be files that have been shared with you either from someone else's OneDrive, or they might be files that live in a team. You can see down here I've got some names of teams that I'm a member of. So that's why these files appear up here. Again, in the recent ones, you'll see files that have been recently opened by yourself or by someone else. So John opened this one, but I can see it here because it's actually living in my files and I have access to it. If I've forgotten the name of a file, but I know what type of file it is, and I've opened it recently as well, I can use these selectors across there to try and locate the file more quickly and jog my memory about what it's called. So that can be handy as well. Okay, so from the home, we'll leave my files for the moment, but we'll jump down to shared. Now, if anyone has ever shared a file with you before, and the link is still active, you'll see them in here. So these are files shared with me. So lots of OneNote files and a Word file, and this is a video file. I can also see files that I've shared. So these ones here are loop components that I've shared with different people in a Teams chat, for example. So again, really handy if you've forgotten what a file is called, but you know you shared it, or you know someone shared it with you. I can also sort by shared by. So if I know John was the one that sent me the file, I can go down and see all the ones that John sent me. Or if I remember when it was sent as well, I can search by date. Now, the favorites is a really good place if you've got files that are stored in different folders, but they're ones that you use really often. I'm going to show you how to favorite files when we get to the My Files section, but if you have favorited files, they appear here. So they're kind of like links so that I can access my files really quickly. The recycle bin we look at a bit later as well, but browse files by people is similar to shared. It allows me to see the people that I frequently work with or collaborate with and what they've saved or what they've shared with me or what I've shared with them. If I've had Teams meetings, these appear here. So if there's anything associated with that meeting, like a recording, or if a file was shared during that meeting, they appear here as well. So again, that's really handy. And then the other one that's quite handy if you're a visual person or you're using lots of photos is this media tab here. So basically, again, this is kind of like a filter where any images or videos that you have saved to your OneDrive or have been shared with you appear in here, and then you can quickly find them and go in and have a look at them really quickly. Underneath here, we've got this quick access, which I did mention briefly. And this is where any teams that you're a member of appear. So because Teams is a Microsoft product, and in fact, they've got the same backend, something called SharePoint, that's why they're appearing here. It doesn't show you all the teams that you're a member of. So if you see a team or you want to save something or access something from a team that you're not a member of, that you are a member of but doesn't appear here, if you click into more places, that should, when it loads, show you all the teams that you're a member of, and then you'll be able to get the files from those teams directly in your OneDrive. And you can see down here how much storage you've used as well. Any questions on the orientation of our homepage? Okay, so hopefully everyone can click on the My Files, because here is where I'm going to do less talking and I'll get you to do some things as well. So in the My Files, you might find that this is empty if you've never used OneDrive before. You might also find that you've got lots of things called Document or Document 1. So sometimes people have opened up something that's been given to them, or they've just clicked on something and opened it up and typed in it. And what it has done is it's saved to their OneDrive, especially if you've used Word or any of the Microsoft applications on the web. It's saved to your OneDrive, and then most of the time, people who don't realize they've saved it to the OneDrive think that it's gone forever. So if you do have some files called document, it might be good to spend some time having a look at what they are and doing some housekeeping. And I'll show you how to delete files in a moment. But if you haven't, or if you do have something, these are all the files that belong to me. Now you can see here I've got a column called sharing. So I can see that these folders have nothing shared with anyone, but this one has something that's been shared, and I can see who I've shared it with as well. So files in OneDrive can remain private, they're your Me files, or you can share them with other people. Over here in the top right, I've got some things I can use to help me visualize and look at my files. So this one here, I can do a compact list if I want to see more on my screen. The other one, which is nice, especially if you can't remember what the file was called, but you remember what it looked like, is the tiles. So my folders, it won't show me much, but down here, it will kind of give me a bit of a preview of the different files. So if I think, oh yeah, it looked like that, must be that PowerPoint. And then you can change it back. So I'll just keep it in the list for the moment. You've also got your typical sorts that you can do down here as well, or you can sort by clicking on the downs up the top here as well. So I've got my files. What can I actually do? So up here in the top left, I've got this Add New. So if you can all click on Add New, you can see you've got a range of different things that you can do. Now, if I want to transfer some files off my computer, because they're on my local machine, but I do actually need to use them or when I'm working from a different machine or when I'm working from home, I can actually upload files or upload a folder. So I can use those options there. I can just click, and then that brings up my file explorer, and I can go ahead. Hopefully I can find a file. I can go ahead and let's just add this file, and it's going to come into this folder here. There it is there. If I want to upload a lot of things though, I can also go to my file explorer and select a file to just drag across. I'm just going to drag it up to the top. You can see a blue line around here, and that's just going to be dragged in there. Or I could go back a step and upload that whole folder in there. And you can see it's uploading there. So that's two ways that I can add things to my OneDrive so that I can access those files from anywhere. If you had a chance to do that, that's great. Otherwise, what I will get everyone to do now is to actually create a new folder. We do a folder first, and then we can create some content within that folder. So if you click on folder, you've got a range of different color options you can use, which is really exciting if you're visual. If you give your folder a name, so because this is a training session, you might want to just call it OneDrive Training, just so you remember what it is. There we go. And I can put spaces in if I want. And I'm going to click on Create. Now that's going to come down here, and it's going to be in alphabetical order for me. So once I've created a new folder, I'm going to click in there, and once you've done that, if you can give me a thumbs up, then we can move on as well. Tanya, did you have your hand up for a question, or just to let me know that you'd been able to do that? Hopefully it was just to let me know. Otherwise, please pop something in the chat or come off mute. Okay, I think most people have got to this page now, so let's move on. So this is my brand new folder. I'm going to click back into that Add New, and I'm going to have a look at the different file types I can add. So I've got my typical Word, Excel, and PowerPoint I can create. I can create a new OneNote. I can create a forms survey, which is in Excel. A Visio drawing, which is a program for doing flowcharts and diagrams, or a Clipchamp video, which is Microsoft's platform for editing videos. This one here is fairly recent. It only came out for education users halfway through last year. If you remember Windows Movie Maker, if you're that old, it's kind of like a revamped version of Windows Movie Maker. But today, if we click into Word document, that's going to open up a brand new Word document for us. Now, this is opened up in Word Online in my browser. What I want to do first is I want to rename this document so that I don't get lots of document 1, 2, 3, 4, like I showed you in the beginning. So I'm going to click in here, and I'm going to call it OneDrive Training. Then 2025. I can, if I want to, change the location where it is here, I'm not going to at the moment because I've put it in the right folder, but if I put it in the wrong folder, I could do that from here. And when I click off, I can see that that's renamed. Now this, because it's saved in my OneDrive and it's online, it's saving automatically all the time. So I don't have to worry about going to File and doing a save. It's automatically saving. Okay, so I've got my document here. What now can I do with that document? Well, there's a few things. If this is a document that's a one-off collaboration, or I've written something and I want someone to view it, I can actually go up here and do my share. And then I've got a couple of options here. Now, if I click on copy link, this link, if I pop it into the chat, and I will do that now, no one will actually be able to access this. So if you've ever been sent a link and you can't access it, it might be because someone's just gone copy link without saying who can access that link. So if anyone has clicked on that in the chat, you'll find you'll get a pop-up saying access denied or something like that. So if I do want to share this, I want to click up the top and I'm going to choose share this time. And then I've got some more options. So if I know I want to share this with 1 or 2 people, I could put in their email address. So I'm going to share this with my colleague, John. And it's going to make me put in the whole email address. 117, hopefully this is correct. There he is. So I can share it with John. Now, the default here is that John can view. So if I click copy link or send straight away, John will be able to open the document, but he won't be able to do anything in the document. So if you want people to be able to edit or review or comment on the document, you need to make sure before you do copy link or send will send John an email. You click on that drop down here and then choose from the different options. So if I'm collaborating with John on this document, I choose can edit. If I just want him to be able to add comments, can review. Can view is just to look at it, but he can download it if he wants to. So that's really good if you want to share something with your colleagues for them to download and use a copy of their own, for example. You don't want them to override what you've done. Can't download means that they can look at it, but they can't download. So I'm going to change that to can edit, and then I could copy that, or if I press send, John will receive an email. Now I'm going to go in and do that again, and I'm going to show you the settings because there's a few more things that we can do in there as well. So I've got my document that I want to share. I'm going up to share. I'm going up to share again. This time though, I've got about 20 people I want to share this document with, and I don't want to copy and paste in 20 emails. So if I've got something that I want to share with a large group of people, I can, instead of typing in, go to this settings here, and then I've got a few more options. So only people with existing access is if I've already typed in their email address. You can see John's there, and that's me. But if I've got lots of people, like 20 or my whole staff, for example, I can choose people in Department for Education. And that means the link is going to work for anyone with an @schools email address. So there is a risk that someone copies your link and sends it to someone else, but you can see who has accessed the file. So it's a limited risk. So I'm going to click on that. Can view, I'm going to change to can edit. If I want this link to expire, so I want this document not to be able to be accessed after a certain time, I can set a date in here as well. Then I can click apply and copy link. And now if I pop that link in the chat, instead of getting an error message, if someone clicks on it, and hopefully someone will click on it for me, they should be able to access that document and edit it. So again, thank you, whoever that is. Let's see, there's a few people. I can see who's in here. So Tim and Debbie have come in. Thank you. So if you have received a link to a document and you've opened it up and you can't do anything and they ask you to edit it, for example, it might be that they've shared the wrong type of link with you. Okay, so let's go back into our OneDrive. If you were in this document, thank you so much, but if you can close it now for me, because I need it closed to show you the next step. Okay, so I've just closed that myself. Here's my document here. I'm hovering over it and now I can see that I had 6 people open it and 18 views. So that might be me looking at it, closing it, renaming it, etc. So I get a bit of a history. If I go to those 3 dots though, I can do something called manage access. So if you do that to your own, if you do create a link as I was creating a link, you'll have something in here. If not, it will be blank. I'll show you that once again. Here's my file. I'm going to the 3 dots and I'm scrolling down to manage access. And here it is. Here are the people that have looked at my files. And this is what kind of editing rights they have. So I've got 9 people that have looked at it. If I go into groups, that would be if I shared it with a team. And then links here, I can see that I've created 1 link, and that is a link that has editing rights. So if I want to send this link to someone else later down the track, I don't need to recreate a link. I can just go in here and copy. If I've made a mistake, I've shared the wrong document, I've shared my shopping list instead of something to do with work, for example, I can come in here and click on remove link. And what that means is that those people now, if you click on that link again in the chat that I put in earlier, you won't have access to that document again. So that's kind of like your safety guard. You can see who's looked at your files. And then if you realize that it's been shared and someone's looking at it who shouldn't be looking at it, you can delete the link. If you've got numerous links that have been shared and they're the wrong ones, you can click on stop sharing as well. Because actually, I've got John who can share it as well at the moment. So if I click on stop sharing now and go back and refresh my screen here, you can see that file is now private. Did anyone try and click on that link again in the chat? If you did, can you give me a thumbs up or just type in the chat if you couldn't access it anymore? Just to make sure that that's all working. Perfect. So Susan's had a look and she can't use those links anymore. Okay, so that's the manage access with our files, which is quite handy in terms of us being able to see who's looked at our files and also to stop any risk of the wrong people looking at the files. There's another thing that is really good about OneDrive, and that's something called version history. So this file isn't going to give me much information because it was blank. So I'm just going to hop back into my files to show you about version history. And I'll go to my OneDrive webinar file because I've got one here that will work. So version history allows you to have a look at all the different versions of a document that have been saved and to restore one of those versions. So this is really great if you've been working on something and you accidentally hit delete on your keyboard or something like that. You can go back and restore everything, even if it's several days later. So if you've ever had students come up to you in a panic because the assessment that they've been working on for weeks is now a blank document, you can tell them about version history as well if they've been saving their work in OneDrive. So this document here, if I go to the three dots, now you can do this on your own document as well, but it might not have anything showing. It might just be one version. But I'm going to go to this version history on the bottom here. And when I click in here, I can see that I've had 9 different versions of this file saved. Now I can click on there and it should, sorry, the three dots, go open file. It should show me, and I think this file might be blank as well, but we see. It should show me, no, it isn't blank, what this version looked like. Now this is opened up in my Word on my desktop because of my settings, but yours might open in Word online. In my desktop, I can compare it to the current version and I can restore it if I want. I'm just going to close my desktop down though, because in my OneDrive, if I haven't opened it, but I know that this is the correct version, I can restore it or delete it. Now, if I click on restore, what that is going to do is going to create another version for me. So it hasn't deleted this version 9. So if I restore the wrong version, it's okay. It's just created another version for me. So hopefully this one's the right one now. Now, I'm just going to go back into the folder where we just were, and I'm wondering whether anyone is still in that document, because we'll see whether this works as well. So one more time, I want to restore a previous version. I'm going to go to the three dots. I'm going to go to version history. There is only one version. If I go to the three dots and open file, now it's not going to work for me, is it? Because there's only one version. But sometimes if I've got a file with several versions, if someone has the file open at the moment, when I click on restore file, it won't work. So that's just something to think about. If you try and do that restore file, let me go back into the one that I can. OneDrive webinar. And let's do this one instead, version history. So if I do click on here and go restore and it doesn't work, it gives me an error message. It might be that John, for example, has that file still open. In that case, I'd need to ask John to make sure he closes that file and then I can restore it. Okay, so that is sharing folders, and that is also managing access and restoring files. Okay, so the next bit we're going to look at is around syncing OneDrive to your computer. Now you might or might not be able to do this, and I'm just going to show you. If you've got a computer that doesn't have much space, you might want to have a bit of a think before you do this if your OneDrive has lots of data in it, because sometimes syncing can fill up the computer. But if you do want to sync your computer, and I'll show you what this looks like in a moment, from OneDrive, from the My Files, you can go to the settings cog in the top right. And if I click on there, I can change my themes and do things like that. But I've also got this sync this OneDrive. Now my OneDrive is already synced, but if it wasn't and I've clicked this, what it's going to do is it's going to open up OneDrive on my computer and match the files. So I just go back to my home and I'll go to my OneDrive here or my File Explorer. And you can see in my File Explorer, I've got my normal folders that you might see on any computer. I've got this Department for Education, which actually is Teams, and these are some teams that I've synced. And up here, I've got a cloud icon, the OneDrive icon, and my name, edit, and Department for Education. So that tells me that I have actually synced my computer. Now, one thing to note, if you are a corporate employee, you might actually find you've got two OneDrive icons, two clouds. One will say Department for Education, and the other, I think from memory, just says Education. So you need to make sure that you're working in your at schools, which is the Department for Education, not your SA Gov, which is the one just called Education. Okay, so if you have synced, and it might take a bit of time depending on how much data you've got in OneDrive, you'll see here that what I see in my File Explorer matches what I can see here. So Class Teams is a new folder, it's here. If I create a new folder in my File Explorer, so let's do a new folder. And I'm just going to call it AA, so it appears up the top. You should see that this, when I refresh,
sorry to
we'll
interrupt.
have that there. Yes.
I'm having a bit of trouble keeping up at this second at the moment. I just got my email address changed, and I've also got corporate, so I've got the two OneDrives. But I have to keep clicking out of this screen to bring up my screen larger to view the same as what you've got, if you know what I'm saying. So where are you going for your File Explorer? Where do I find that?
Yep. So what I'm showing you at the moment is I've got my browser, but I've synced my OneDrive. So
Yes.
my syncing was up the top in that top cog, and
Yep,
then
I've got all
synced
of
this
that.
OneDrive.
Yep.
And so then I've just clicked down here on my File Explorer, and that's where I can see that OneDrive icon and the files I've got in here, and I've got my browser behind. Okay, I am recording this session, so if you need to go back and see anything, you can. It's all good. Okay, so here I am. There's that folder that's appeared online, and there's that folder that I created on my computer. So you can see it's nicely synced. If you do sync your computer, there's a few symbols that come up that I'm just going to go through as well. So this one here is the cloud. It means that this folder is not, there isn't a local version on my computer at the moment. It's only in my OneDrive here. And that's probably because I haven't ever opened this file or folder on my computer. These ones here with a green tick and a circle, that means that there's a local copy kept on my computer, and it's in the cloud as well. This one here, you can see, has got some arrows. That means that currently it's syncing. So it means that what I've done on the computer or online in the browser might not be reflected with what's on my computer, and vice versa with that. There's a person here. That means that it is shared. There should be another one. Let's go into that OneDrive webinar. Let's see. Yep, so that means it's shared. So I can see that file is shared. I can actually go in here and properties, share it as well from my computer. Now, if I do find that I am running out of space, I can go over here and right click on it and use this free up space. That means it will kind of work out what files I'm using all the time and what files I'm not, and try and get me some space on my device. The other one which is really handy if you work or you move around and sometimes you don't have internet connection, is one that you can say keep on my device. So maybe this DigiCheck planning file is one that I use all the time, and maybe I'm in a black spot and don't always have internet access. So if I want to be able to access this file even offline, I can right click on it here and go always keep on this device. That one will change again, and you can see now it's a green fully enclosed circle with a white tick. That means I can access this file wherever I am without internet connection. And then the next time I connect to the internet, any changes I've made in this document will sync and vice versa. So again, something handy to know. I just go one back. So you can see this one with the white means that there's a local copy, but it's not going to be accessible when I'm offline. And then this one here with the green tick means that I can access it all the time, whether I'm online or not. Okay, now there is one thing that people sometimes get stuck on. They come in and the status, or they can't find a file and they know that it was updated, but the file they're accessing isn't. I can't show you because it's missing from this screen, but it's always good to see and check that the OneDrive icon, which should be appearing down in the bottom right, is actually a nice OneDrive, and it doesn't have a red warning kind of sign in it, which tells me that it's not syncing or it's offline. So sometimes if you're using mobile data, for example, your computer will automatically turn off OneDrive for you. Okay, we've almost run out of time. There's one last thing that I'm going to show you, and that is if you are using OneDrive but you prefer your desktop apps, you can actually save directly from a desktop app to your OneDrive. So I'm just going to bring up Word. And again, this might depend on what version of Microsoft 365 you have. If you've got M365, not Office, then you should be able to do this. If you've got Office and you haven't synced, you might run into trouble. If you've got Office and you sync, there is a workaround. But I'm just going to open a blank document. And this one is going to be Term Planning 2025. It's called Document 1. I want to rename that as well. So I'm just going to highlight, copy and paste. Click up here, highlight. Oh, it's renamed it for me. Now I can from here choose my file location. So this is just going to save in OneDrive. I don't want it saving just in OneDrive, so I can go to more options. And then from here, I've got my OneDrive here and also something called Sites. Now Sites is Microsoft Teams. And again, you might not see this if you haven't synced Teams, but if you have, that's what Sites is. In my OneDrive, I can now see all those folders. I'll just bring up my browser. In fact, I will split my screen. So you can see all those folders I have in my OneDrive. I can also save directly to in here. So let's go to that webinar, OneDrive training. That's where we are. And save. And then if I go here, you can see something new. And it might take a little bit of time to come through. But it should give it a little bit of time. Be patient, come through here as well. If I don't want to rename it up here, I can also directly go into File and save a copy in this case, and then navigate in here. If I don't have this option and I have synced my OneDrive, I can also just go to this PC or browse, and then I can select my OneDrive from here. So that's a little bit of a workaround if you're using Office instead of Microsoft 365. Okay, give it one more shot. It's still not going to come through for me. Let's try and put it in the right folder. It is in there on here. No, it isn't. Maybe I didn't press save. Okay, let's refresh now. There it is. So that's really nice. If you much prefer working on your desktop app, you can still save to your OneDrive and do all those things like sharing. So there's that share button on my desktop app as well. For leavers, I'm going to point you in the direction of a few resources that you can access to take your learning a bit further. So I always like to point out to people the Microsoft Educator Center. Let's go to the Educator Center. So Microsoft have a whole range of self-paced courses that you can do, and they're specific for educators or for people using the education version of M365. So if you go there, create an account, sign in with your @schools, and then that will keep a record of the training that you've done. And there's lots of different courses that you can do. Hopefully it doesn't disappoint me if I put in OneDrive. No results. There normally is results of different learning modules and things that you can do. Let's just go into product guides and browser and see if there's one in here. It's not going to do it for me today, but trust me, it is a good source. We also have a YouTube channel, so you can come here for short how-to videos or our webinar recordings. So I'll pop that in there as well. And then the other place to keep an eye on is the Digital Skills dashboard on Plink. So on here, you can access different training that is coming up run by Digital Skills or facilitated by Digital Skills and providers that the department has agreements with. And then there's a range of other resources and information about external events as well. The last place that I like to point people in the direction of is the M365 support and collaboration team. And I'll just get the link and pop the link in the chat as well. So this is a team with lots of people in it. I know some of you are in it today already, but if you're not, it's worth joining, because if you have any questions, so someone's put a question in Sway today, for example, and you can't Google the answer, you haven't found it anywhere else, you can ask in here and someone from the Digital Skills team or someone in the department who's a member should be able to help you out.